Hello, speech class. All of the information I'm about to give you can be found in Chapter 9 of your speech book, and that begins on page 204 in case you would rather read that section. If not, I'm going to give you the information quickly here in a presentation. All of this information will apply to any speech, any major speech you are going to give in this class, and it's all about how to organize a speech properly. When you are done listening to this presentation, there is a Google form quiz for you to fill out and turn in to let me know that you're finished. Whenever you're asked to give a speech, it's important to get off to a good start. You have to have an introduction, and an introduction has to do four things. It has to get the attention of your audience. It has to provide a clear link from your attention getter to your speech topic or your thesis statement. And then, of course, it gives your specific thesis statement. Many of you have done these before with your English papers, where a thesis statement is a roadmap, basically, that's going to tell your audience what it is your speech is going to talk about. And that presents a preview of the major areas that will be discussed. So if you think about your major areas being body paragraphs, you can relate it to an English paper. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can get your audience's attention. So you can ask a question. This will fire up their curiosity. It might do the trick if it's not overdone, so you don't always want to rely on a question. And your question should be rhetorical. That means ones that don't necessarily mean a response, so that not everybody's raising their hand and trying to get your attention in the middle of your speech. You can make references to people, surroundings, policies, anything that you know that the audience is familiar with in order to connect them with your topic. You could make a startling statement. You could use a statistic, but be careful that you don't offend your audience when you give that startling statement. You could give a quotation. That might work as long as the quotations are clear and appropriate for your topic. That does not necessarily mean that they need to be serious. You could tell a story, and that's the last one we'll discuss. Audiences like to hear stories that they can connect with, and this could also help show your personality during a speech. So those are some different ways that you can get the audience's attention in your introduction. Don't forget that you need a link between your attention getter and your thesis statement. Your thesis statement will tell the audience what you will be speaking about. It will also clarify the goal of your speech. Are you trying to persuade, inform, teach? In our first speech, we're going to be trying to inform. Many of you have written thesis statements before for English class and know that it basically acts as a map to your paper that tells your audience the 3 or more main points that you will discuss. Here's an example of a pretty well done introduction for a student speech. Have you ever heard the saying, "Let a smile be your umbrella"? What about the observation, "Laugh, and the world laughs with you"? Both of these statements deal with how a positive attitude and a sense of humor can make a bad situation a little bit better for both you and the people around you. However, did you know that your ability to laugh can mean a great deal more than a pleasant smile or momentary delight? As a matter of fact, laughter can be very beneficial in many ways. Consequently, I would like to discuss the various areas in your lives where laughter can play a significant positive role. Let's take a look at how laughter can help you on the job, with your friends and family, and with your health. So you see the link there with the laughter playing a significant positive role, and basically the plan of how you're going to speak in your thesis statement being about the job, family and friends, and health. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can organize your speech internally. The first one is a chronological pattern. This is a type of pattern that's helpful in putting things in a time sequence. That's the order in which they happen. This is essential for most demonstration speeches. So when you're actually doing a demonstration speech and telling me how to do something, you're going to want to put that in chronological order. You don't necessarily have to use that for your informative essay, though. This could probably be one that you use for talking about a historical event or maybe even the biography of a famous person. The climactic pattern organizes points in order of importance. That saves the most important for last, kind of like getting to the climax of a story. So climactic, climax. It helps build dramatic impact and is useful for informative or persuasive speeches. The spatial pattern is when you organize ideas by geography, so the space, by their physical proximity to each other. It is useful for specific informative speeches, such as regional cultural traditions, or maybe discussing the way that a battle turned out in a war. You can do a cause-effect pattern. That's when you say to your audience, because this happened, that happened. One thing would lead to another. So if you were talking about an eating disorder, like bulimia, you would talk about then 3 or more effects that that has. That's very similar to a problem solution pattern when you identify a problem and then you offer multiple solutions for it. In order to have a proper problem solution format, you need to balance your time on each section of this. So you would spend just as much time on the solution as you did on the problem. One shouldn't be longer than the other. When you're done with your speech, you need to have a conclusion. Again, just like a paper. The first part of the conclusion is the summary. You can remind your audience of your main points and repeat your thesis statement. It will help your audience remember the points you were trying to make. It should also contain a clincher, which is a final line that clinches your argument. It should leave a memorable, lasting impression that should match the tone of your entire speech. Making an outline is something that I'm going to ask you to do and is a necessary step when preparing your speech and will help you get organized. You will be asked to do it for each of your major speeches. A good example for how to do an outline is found on page 221 of your textbook, and I would really suggest that you go back and you look at that before you begin your informative speech. Hopefully this was helpful. If you need any clarification, you can go back. Like I said, it starts on page 204 of your speech book. If you think you have all of this information, or maybe you need to listen to it again, when you're done, go and take the quiz on the Google form that's also attached to this assignment in Classroom. Thanks.